Hello and welcome everyone. This is Human to Pharma platform by Pharmacy Academy, and here we are with another inspirational Pharma Journey Directorship, where we will be having heart-to-heart discussion with a pharma leader. So, everyone who is hearing me out, it is my pleasure to introduce you to someone who is igniting innovation and driving safety, someone who is a remarkable leader in the pharma industry, Mr. Gurpreet Singh. With a wealth of experience spanning 17 plus years, Sir has made an indelible impact on drug development as Vice President and Global Head of Pharmacovigilance at Freyr Solutions, having worked with esteemed organizations such as Cognizant, Tata Consultancy, Novartis, and Parexel. Sir has honed his expertise and emerged as a trailblazer in his field. During his tenure at Novartis, he has held prestigious positions of Global Head of PV Operations, overseeing all global pharmacovigilance activities with utmost diligence and dedication. At Parexel, he served as Senior Director of PV Operations, leading critical projects for top global pharma and biotech companies. Certified in Six Sigma and project management professional, he is a visionary who believes in the power of digital transformation and significance of organizational culture. Beyond his professional accomplishments, Sir is a sought-after speaker at numerous pharmacovigilance conferences, and his commitment to advancing the industry, along with sharing his knowledge, sets him apart as an influential thought leader. It is with great anticipation that we welcome Gurpreet Sir on the behalf of Pharmacy Academy team and Humans of Pharma platform. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here today.
Thank you so much, Shazia, for the introduction and for the welcome.
So here, let's get this conversation started. Starting with the first one, how are you, Gurpreet sir?
I'm doing well. I think the pharma industry is going through a lot of transformation, and I'm pretty excited to be a part of this industry, growing in this industry. So I'm doing very well, Shazia.
Great. So my first question. Throughout your career, you have held various leadership roles in the pharma industry. How have these experiences shaped your perspective on the industry and your leadership style?
So, as you rightly mentioned, I've been in the industry for more than 17 years, and I've worked with some very top global companies like Cognizant, Tata Consultancy, Novartis, Parexel. I've also had the opportunity to work with relatively, new companies like Freyr, where I'm working right now, to build the pharmacovigilance business. Over these 17 years, I've had the opportunity to learn various aspects. During this journey that I've had. Right from understanding the concepts of people management to operations to transition, business development, quality and compliance being a very important element of global drug development, to the extent of being a business leader, managing a complete business unit. It's been a learning experience for me all the while, and I'm a person who believes that learning is important. So yes, I think right from the initial concepts of how a team should be managed to digital transformation. I think it's a fantastic journey that I've had over the last 17 years.
And somehow it is true that experience really helps shape your perspective on the industry as well. My next one, as a strategic thinker, how have you leveraged your expertise in project management, Six Sigma, and digital transformation now to drive innovation and efficiency in the pharma sector, particularly?
So I think I feel at a leadership level, strategic thinking makes a very important, it's a very important attribute. I have been able to demonstrate that right through the times when, in drug development, things were done in a very manual way. 15, 17 years back when I started, most of the things were manual. What I actually felt was it's important to use technology, to use the digital landscape to make pharma industry more apt to the way the organization should work. So over the last 17 years, what we brought in is a lot of changes as far as drug development is concerned. When we started with robotic process automation, for example, or machine learning or artificial intelligence, when the company I was in, Novartis, at that point of time, we were really the leaders that time. We wanted to really be forward thinking, bring in those changes. And today, if you see, when I see, we've already bring in a lot of those solutions into our various, various ways of working. That is helping us to move forward as far as transformation is concerned. So I think the strategic thinking nature has helped us, not only me but the industry as a whole, to really see what the vision should be. So today, when I talk in conferences, I always say that we are sitting on the cusp of a disruption. And when I say disruption, it's in the positive way, that the way we have been doing pharmacovigilance or clinical research all these whiles is set to change in the next 7-10 years. And there will be companies which will come up with innovative ideas of how we should do. And that's where startup and entrepreneurial thinking along with the strategic mindset will help us to move forward. So yes, fully agree. Strategic thinking is one of the most important attributes.
Yeah, amazing. And thinking about all these things, were there any role models or mentors in your life who inspired you to pursue a career in, management and operations?
I would say yes. I mean, I think for anybody to be successful, it's rare to say that you don't have role models, mentors. You do have. My biggest role model for me, right from my childhood, has been my father. He has been one of the strongest leaders I have seen. He has been the one from whom I've learned my basic principles of leadership. Which is, how do you take a team together? How do you collaborate? How do you influence? How do you strategize? How do you implement things? From my childhood, I've learned that, and that has helped me to build my foundations. What has also helped me is, I've got the opportunity over my journey to work with some fantastic managers. One of my managers in Cognizant, I looked at him and I learned a lot about people management. Another manager of mine at TCS, there I learned operations. How is operations done? How do we really drive the growth of the business? And my third leader in Novartis was the one who actually taught me about business leadership. So I would say that, my father being my role model, I've had three fantastic mentors during my course of journey, which has helped me to think about people management, operations, business leadership. And that is what kind of helps me to, obviously the style is mine. Obviously the way I work is, my approach, but there are a lot of learnings that I've got from these fantastic people looking at them. So yes, to answer that question.
You already have said a lot of things, but yes, as a child, Gurpreet sir, were there any other, leadership traits that you exhibited, even in small ways, which foreshadowed your future career path as a business leader now?
I think as a child, and this is again, I would say something which I feel nice about myself, humbly, is as a child, I used to be an all-rounder. I used to not only focus on academics, but I wanted to make sure that I could create a social impact. I always wanted to help the people. I always wanted to make sure that I could participate in sports and other activities. So I wanted to always do that. And I think, like I said, a lot of influence on this comes from your family, where the impact on social society is something which was ingrained into me as a child. That whatever we do, there has to be an impact that you create for the society. So pharma was a very logical thing for me, because this is where I think you create the greatest impact to society by making sure that you have the right medicines, safe medicines for people. So, from my upbringing itself, I was very fascinated towards the pharma industry, about how medicines work, about the actions of medicines. And I felt this was a very good career choice, because I felt this is an opportunity to give back to society, do for the people. And that, I think, was really one of the fundamental learnings that I've had during my childhood, to say when we do something, there has to be a purpose, and that purpose needs to be done, and to achieve that purpose there has to be a process. You get through a process to get to that purpose, and during this process we should create memories. So I would always tell my junior people who work with me is, always have a purpose in life, put a process to get to the purpose, and during the process make some memories, because what time moves on, you will never get back this time. So it's always important to create good friends, good relationships, good memories of things that you've done. So that has been pretty much my philosophy all these years.
A little on the go note, right? Wonderful. Another question, it's like, how do you foster a culture of continuous improvement and learning within your team now? And what impact has it on the overall performance and growth of the organization you have worked with in the past?
Yeah, but I think a couple of things. I think one is, I generally like to hire people who have strong learning agility. For me, it does not matter if the person has worked in that particular area or not. It is not something that, it plays a very important role in the decision making. What really matters to me is if the person demonstrates learning agility. Because I have a feeling that, if the person has the right attitude, he or she can pretty much learn everything. So, when I go with that philosophy, when I hire people, I have teams, I typically make it very, I would say in a way, making it them, influencing them to be able to learn more. The idea is always that every individual in my team should pick up at least one or two new skills every year. And they should make sure that, those skills are then being used in their day-to-day work as they progress. So that's the way, you bring in that continuous learning. So people, if you look at it, from my teams that I've handled, there are people who've grown to senior positions. They have people who used to report to me. Now they are director, senior director levels. And I feel very proud that, I was able to contribute to them. And when they call back and say, this is what I learned from you, I feel this is what I could create an impact for. So I think it is the continuous learning which helps really people move forward. And I am a strong believer that, people with the right learning agility can pick up any skill, and everybody should add at least one or two new skills every year in their life, because that way you're actually moving forward from where you are at the beginning of your life. So that's really the philosophy on continuous learning for me.
A valuable insight here, and really know to go for that. Another one is, you already have told this that as a child in your childhood you were a multitasker. So, as a detail-oriented multitasker, how do you prioritize and manage your responsibilities in fast-paced environments? And what techniques have you found effective in maintaining productivity?
Yeah. So I'll be, I don't want to give a false statement to say that it's very easy to be a detail-oriented multitasker. It comes with its challenges. The kind of role that I'm doing or I've been doing, it requires a lot of focus. It requires to be 100% compliant and, quality oriented at all times. And I think as I have, picked up in my career, I have been able to get in that skill of being very detail oriented, of, making sure that, multiple things can be done because of my role. But I think what's important is how do I develop that focus. So many a times, we tend to lose sight of things because we don't get into the minutest details. A simple example is, when you have an issue, people spend a lot of time to understand what went wrong, whereas people actually don't realize that, many a times this could be process issues. So it's important that you actually get into the process to understand if the process you put in was right, or was there the gap in the process, right? Many times people start, finding issues with people, but I always feel that it's a process. The process is good, people will always contribute. So my focus has always been, when a problem occurs, is how can I solve this, but at the same time, how can I get to the depth of this to understand how this is impacting my process and how I can improve this process so that my people can deliver what's required. So that's been really the overall philosophy as far as, multitasking and detail orientation is concerned.
Great, great. Uh, Moving on to the next, can you discuss the role of digital transformation in the pharma industry, and how have you championed its implementation to drive operational excellence and customer satisfaction?
Sure, sure. I mean, this is one of my favorite topics. I'll be honest with you. Last three conferences, I have spoken about digital transformation, and the one thing which I keep telling my pharma colleagues is it is already there. It's happening. I'll just share an example with you. I was on a flight from UK to US for a conference, and I met a gentleman next to me, and all the while, and I was actually trying to sleep on the plane. I normally do that. But I was actually, intrigued by the person, taking interest in artificial intelligence, digital transformation. And you won't believe I spent 8 hours talking about artificial intelligence and digital transformation. So, and that's the message I gave to my pharma colleagues. I said, look, it's there everywhere. You're traveling in a plane, you're traveling in a train. There are people who are aware of it. There are people who are talking about it. So it's going to happen. The best way to, move forward on this one is embrace the change, accept it. and start, learning towards it, start developing yourself towards it. I'll give an example. When we started in pharmacovigilance 15 years back, we used to get paper cases. They used to come through fax, and those were then entered into a database manually, and then they were processed. Today, everything is electronic. Everything comes onto the database. Everything has to be, electronically entered. There is an RPA component there which enters it automatically, and then there is a automatic review which helps you to reduce the manual effort. So things have evolved over the last 10, 15 years. The next 7 to 10 years are going to be even more fast with the coming of things like chat GPT, artificial intelligence, machine learning. The pharma industry, and especially global drug development, is going to evolve extensively. And that's something which all of us need to get ready with. It means a lot of opportunities as far as I am concerned, because it means you have to upskill yourself. It means you have to develop the expertise. And at the same time, it means that you need to understand the nuances of technologies and be able to handle them in a more effective way.
Indeed, digital transformation today is undeniably significant, and it's intriguing how you have championed it so easily. uh, Also, Gurpreet sir, throughout your career, you have emphasized the importance of employee development. Uh, how do you support your team members in improving their skills and techniques to reach their larger goals? You already have stated that you are, asking them for developing skills, but other than that, any other?
No, I think so. Obviously, like I said, continuous learning is an important part for employee. I think it's also important to engage with employees. I always believe that for any organization, the three important components are people, process, and technology. I spoke a lot about process and technology, but that does not mean that people is least important. People, in fact, is the most important thing, and it's important that we engage with our employees. And when I say engage, it does not mean that obviously it does not mean that we go around party all the time, but it means that connect with them at a mental level, connect with them to understand what their requirements are, connect with them to guide them, influence them, help them. During my career, I've had the opportunity to work with some fantastic talents, right? But many a times you will, as a leader, have to guide them or maneuver them and let them know what their strengths are. The ideal example I can say is, a leader is a coach. A leader is not just a captain. He is obviously the captain of the ship, but at the same time, he's also a coach for his people, and he has to coach his people to understand what their strengths are, what their limitations are, and how they can actually use their strengths to become successful. And I'm a fan of strengths. Everybody has areas of improvement. That's bound to happen. But if everybody starts working on their strengths, the chances of them being successful are much higher than them trying to focus on improving their area of improvement, which can become better, but may not necessarily become their strength. So I am a fan of identify people's strengths, work with them, help them, coach them, mentor them, and make them successful. And the biggest pleasure that I get is when I see one of my reportees being successful in a meeting, in a leadership role. That gives me a lot of satisfaction that I have been able to add value to an individual's career.
Amazing. The emphasis you place on your employee development is really admirable, seriously. Looking ahead, sir, what are your aspirations for the future of pharma industry and how do you plan to contribute to its advancement as a business leader?
Yeah, I think I have worked in global drug development all throughout my life, and the reason I worked in that is because I believe that there are still a lot of ailments in the world which require a solution from the pharma industry. There are still a lot of aspects as far as healthcare is concerned which we need to improve. I want to play my role in terms of making sure that I contribute to having safe medicines in the market. I want to make sure that patient safety takes utmost importance. We are there, especially in the regulated markets, the well-developed markets. Patient safety is an important area, but I do want to make my contribution felt in countries like India, where patient safety is now gaining importance. So one of the purposes when I meet people in conferences or when I go and interact with people is how can we bring in that patient safety awareness in India? How can we, make sure people understand the concept of adverse events of drugs, and how do we make sure that pharma companies, bring in that culture of keeping the patients ahead of everything. So, my entire focus has been patient safety, and ensuring that we have safe products for the patients, so that they can recover from the ailments, and you can actually help people be healthier and live a happy life. So that would be my contribution, and I would want to continue to work in this area, especially in India, because I think that's an area where I feel there is a lot of work happening, and more needs to be done.
And that's how a visionary leader sounds. Thank you for that. And my last question, sir, is any advice for the young professionals and freshers in the industry?
Right. I think I did mention some of my philosophies, so I will probably reiterate those. One is I believe it's important to be focused. It's very important to know what your strengths are, what is it that you can achieve. And I always believe that strengths are more important than areas of improvement. So everybody should be able to identify what their strength is, and they should really work on their strengths and focus on their strengths to be successful. Having said that, the three important things which I said, very important to have a purpose in life, and it could be anything. For somebody it might be being a cricketer, for somebody it might be a film star, for somebody it might be helping patients. But that is very important for every young person to have a purpose. Create a process to get to that purpose, because just having a purpose doesn't help. You need to have a process which will help you to get to that purpose. And during this process, it is very important that you create memories. When I say memories, you create relationships, you create friendships, you find people whom you can collaborate with, because these are the memories which will help you when you grow in your leadership, and these are the memories which will help you learn from a lot of people. So these are the 3-4 key elements I would advise every youngster to follow, which I'm sure will help them to be successful in their career.
Surely, Gurpreet sir, these words will undoubtedly resonate with the aspiring professionals. And with this, we have come to an end. And I wanted to thank you again for your presence here, Gurpreet sir. Every pharma student, professional, and anyone who needs a change and more than motivation in their career should take advantage by simply hearing it. I say this always, and it's my motto over here. And everyone who is watching here, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Reach out if you have any suggestions for future episodes by connecting with us on LinkedIn and other social media channels at Humans of Pharma, or by email us at humansofpharma@pharmastate.com. Bye and thank you. And thank you so much, Gurpreet sir.
Thank you, Shazia. Great talking to you.